it's a prototype. It's a pre-production version. Beta testing, software fixing. Well, we often quite hear these terms with the new age EV startups, don't we? However, more often than not, the timelines they promise is often not delivered. Well, with the changing times, the startups are now getting mature. The supply chain is now getting more streamlined. Last year, when we first rode it, it had a fair amount of problems and niggles in it. Well, with this latest version, the company has tried to fix all those issues. So let's now check how good is their fix and how better is it to ride in real world. This right here is a large 4.4 kWh battery pack which has lithium iron phosphate as its battery chemistry. Well, one of the significant advantage of this chemistry is that it has a more safety quotient, thus it is less prone to thermal runaway and overheating. Secondly, it has a larger lifespan and a less self-discharging rate. Moreover, it does not get a nickel and cobalt, thus it is bit more environment friendly. But on the flip side, it has a less storage density, thus the amount of weight and the space it takes is on a higher side. This bike gets a claimed IDC range of 187 km and out in real world it gets a 120 km of driving range in eco mode. However, we haven't ridden this bike to its limit, so I will reserve my judgment on its range accuracy. In terms of riding performance, the acceleration feels quite linear and gradual. It's a havoc mode that feels quite sportier, whereas the eco mode, as the name suggests, prioritizes economy over performance, feels a bit dull, and its top speed is capped at 50 kmph, which would be only usable in stop and go traffic. City modes tend to find the balance with both and is adequate in the real world. However, it's a havoc mode which is so fun to use. This bike gets a permanent magnet synchronized motor that sits well beneath the battery pack and it sends power to the rear wheel via a single stage belt drive system. And in terms of power output, the power has been reduced to now 8 kW. That translates roughly around 10.5 horsepower, and the peak torque output of this motor is 52 Nm. Throttle calibration also felt predictable and it had consistent performance throughout the test. In havoc mode, though the bike can hit 100 kmph mark, however in some instances it struggled to hit that mark despite max throttling, and I had to correct myself with inputs to ditch out its maximum performance. In city and eco mode though, it was predictable and nice. In terms of comfort and suspension, this bike gets a telescopic unit at the front and a monoshock at the rear. While riding out in the real world, I found the rear suspension to be quite on a steeper side, and couple that with the less foam density of the seat, when you go out on the bad patches of the road, it feels quite jarring and uncomfortable. The bike feels quite agile, and despite its 147 kg of weight, it doesn't feel heavy or cumbersome to maneuver around. And as mentioned, the rear suspension setup is on a firmer side, and I wish the brand could further fine-tune it with more damping. Then there is the riding ergonomics. It's quite comfortable and the seat height of 110 mm would be quite accommodative to average Indians. The seats, however, are on a slippery side, and whenever you brake hard, you tend to come forward towards the fuel tank. The Oben Rorr gets a 270 mm disc at the front and a 240 mm disc at the rear. It does not get ABS, but what it gets is a unified braking assist, which links the front and rear brake for better stability. In case of Oben Rorr, the front brake could have more bite from it, and in case of hard turning braking, the rear tends to lock up. But with a 1433 mm of wheelbase, the bike does not seem to go out of control. In terms of looks, the designers have done a good job. It looks more appealing with the color scheme and graphic. It does not look like a conventional motorcycle, and the neo-retro styling does make it stand out. The aluminium cast components around battery holder, grab rails and headlamp look quite cool. However, the charging port feels a bit flimsy. The bike gets a rather decent color segmented LED unit, which has a photoelectric sensor in it that automatically manages its brightness according to the ambient lighting. In terms of safety, it gets a driver alert system that basically keeps the driver aware of a beep noise whenever the bike's speed is reduced to 5 kmph or less. This could be an annoying feature to some and quite helpful to many. The bike also comes with an eSIM that enables real-time vehicle tracking and anti-theft features via mobile app. At 1.50 lakhs ex-showroom, this bike certainly plays on its value card. You see, it's a no-nonsense, simple EV motorcycle that does all things fundamentally well. It rides decently, it handles better, the power delivery is quite smooth and linear. But apart from that, there are few things that could be better. For example, the braking. It could have more bite and feedback. Secondly, the seat cushioning, the foam density of the seat, it could be better. And the fit and finish is still on an adequate level. Not too good, not too bad either. I had a short span of time testing this motorcycle. I would like to spend more time with it to test its potential limit. But until then, the bike has a good initial first impression.